Once upon a time, in a small peaceful village, there lived an old lady who was deeply loved by everyone. What made her special was that she was always happy, no matter the circumstances. No matter how challenging life was, her smile never faded. Because of this, the villagers often came to her for advice, comfort, or simply to hear a kind word. One day, a young man, curious and perplexed, approached her and asked, "Excuse me, ma'am, how is it that you are always happy, no matter what happens? Don't you ever feel sad? Life can be difficult. Haven't you ever felt sorrow?" The old lady smiled, her eyes twinkling with wisdom. She motioned for the young man to sit beside her and gently said, "My dear, life is full of ups and downs. Some days everything seems perfect, while other days it feels like the whole world is against us. But what I have learned over the years is that happiness does not depend on what happens to us, it depends on how we choose to respond." The young man furrowed his brows, deep in thought, but continued listening intently. "But how can you stay happy when bad things happen? I just don't understand." The old lady closed her eyes for a moment as if recalling memories, then softly began to share her story. "When I was young, I had a happy family. We were not rich, but we loved each other deeply. Then, one day, my husband fell gravely ill. We had no money for medicine, and despite our best efforts, he passed away. That was the saddest day of my life. I cried for days, thinking I would never be happy again. But then, one day, I realized that drowning in sorrow would not change the past. I still had my children, and they needed me. I had to find a way to live for them." The young man listened carefully, his expression softening. "But how did you manage to move on? How did you keep going?" The old lady smiled gently. "Every morning, I would wake up and tell myself, today is a new day and I will find something to be grateful for. Some days, it was something as simple as the sunshine streaming through my window, a flower blooming outside my door, or a kind word from a neighbor. On difficult days, I reminded myself that pain, like the weather, would eventually pass. I learned to appreciate what I still had instead of mourning what was lost." The young man nodded, his face thoughtful. "But what if something truly terrible happens? How can you still be happy then?" The old lady sighed softly, but there was no hesitation in her voice. "Life is never easy, my dear. But I always remind myself that everything is temporary. Even the darkest days will pass. I can choose to focus on what I have lost, or I can choose to see what I still have. The choice is always mine." The young man stood in silence for a moment, then bowed his head gratefully before leaving. From that day on, he began to change the way he looked at life. He learned to find joy in small things, a smile from a passing stranger, helping a child with homework, or simply watching the sunset. Gradually, he realized that his life had become brighter and more meaningful. The old lady's story quickly spread throughout the village. People started changing their perspectives, focusing on the positive and appreciating what they had. And so, the village became a happier, warmer place, all because of one simple lesson: happiness is a choice. So, what about you? Do you choose happiness? Remember, no matter how life unfolds, there is always something to be grateful for. Choose joy, choose peace. And if you found this story meaningful, don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. Did you find this lesson valuable? Like and subscribe to our channel for more meaningful stories. Thank you for listening. See you in the next story.